story from one of my books called Stages. Most of my books are self-help counseling books for young ones, and the interesting stories help these young ones to make right choices, to reflect deeply, and to determine the right and wrong things that they must do and can do. Let's share the story together. The title of the first story is One Long Night. Philip was learning for his exam when Kingsley interrupted him and asked him to accompany him to buy food outside campus. The two boys were in an all-boys secondary school. There was a newly opened restaurant called Food Joint in town, and everybody was talking about it. People literally fought to get their orders from this food joint before the food ran out. Philip hesitated when Kingsley called him because he wasn't too good at the subject he was learning and preparing for exams the next day. However, Kingsley insisted so much that Philip should accompany him. Philip did not want to disappoint his friend, so he just followed him to the designated place. The two boys knew that it was wrong to leave campus to buy food outside. However, a large majority of students had been doing the wrong thing by sneaking out to the food joint place. It had become the norm to break bounds and go outside for food or other things. In order not to be caught when students left campus, the boys would quickly take off their prescribed school t-shirts and put on unprescribed ones instead. There was a section of the school's wall which was short, so they could easily scale it. Normally, the boys would walk around as if they were taking a stroll on campus. Yet, they would be looking around to make sure there were no teachers in sight. As Philip and Kingsley were going towards their scaling point, Philip felt an urge to urinate, yet Kingsley kept urging him to hurry up. Interestingly, when they got to the scaling point, there were about 5 boys who were already on a similar mission. Quickly, the boys started scaling the walls, and within seconds, they had mingled with the crowd outside their school wall. They all headed to their favorite spots to buy their food. Just when they were about leaving, one boy shouted, "The coast is not clear." That was their signal indicating that a teacher was nearby. Instantly, everyone ran in different directions. At this point, it was a matter of each man for himself, God for us all. One by one, the boys found their way back to school using different routes. Kingsley, on the other hand, couldn't find Philip, so he attempted to go and search for him. When he got to their scaling point again, there were so many teachers there that he had to return to the dorm. Strangely enough, everyone on campus was talking about the accident that had just happened. A boy had been knocked down by a vehicle and it was fatal. Onlookers and pedestrians who had happened to be at the immediate eyewitness at the scene of the accident reported the incident to the police. Their report stated that apparently the driver might have seen the boy crossing a little late, and he attempted to swerve his car to avoid hitting the boy. But before the driver could stop his car, it was too late. The car hit him and threw him some 10 feet into the air before it dropped back onto the tarred road. The teachers in the school were immediately alerted that a young boy, possibly a student in the school, had been hit by a car. Because of the clothes the boy was wearing, he could not easily be identified as a student of that school. Good Samaritans had taken him to the hospital, but everyone who saw the accident feared for his life. Kingsley was confused. He had a bad feeling it was Philip because of his absence from campus, but he hoped against hope it was not him. On the other side of town, Agnes and Tope, the parents of Philip, were home relaxing. There was a football match going on, and since they both loved football, they were engrossed watching the match on TV. Suddenly, Agnes shouted, "Philip! Lord, my son!" Tope looked at her from the corner of his eye and shook his head. He didn't want to comment then because his team was about to score a goal. Agnes momentarily lost concentration and said, "Tope, our son." Tope answered her without taking his eye off the screen. "He's fine. Why do you worry so much about this boy? I have been telling you to toughen him up. He's a man, not mommy's pet." Agnes knelt down to pray but was distracted by the shout of "Goal!" She got up to check and her team had scored. But she could not rejoice like she would have wanted to. Something was definitely wrong. But she just did not have a clue what it was. She wanted to call the school there and then to check on her son, but she hesitated. She had spent the whole Sunday afternoon with him. Today was only Monday. That night, she tossed and turned so much, yet did not know why. She felt so restless, she was sure it could be a very long night for her. On the other side of town, at the emergency, the room buzzed with activity. There was a pulse, even though the young boy looked lifeless. The benevolent driver kept praying that the boy would be saved. Ran case. So the one who had hit the lad was nowhere to be found. Machines were fixed on the boy and all his vitals were being monitored. Afi, the nurse on duty, was just drawn to the boy. She tried to make him as comfortable as possible. She prayed for his recovery. She made sure he was given all he needed. For 24 hours, he had had no visitors, so she was always there by his side. His parents were yet to be found. Agnes, by midday on Tuesday, could do no productive work. She needed to see her son. She called the housemaster, who assured her all should be well, and since all students were expected to be in class, he would call her when he got to the dorm. Unknown to her, the headmaster and some teachers had gone to Philip's daddy's office to inform him that his son had been involved in an accident. When the headmaster broke the news to Topper, Philip's father, he was shocked. He stood up for a few minutes and said, "My wife was right. My wife was right. Yesterday at 7 p.m., she kept disturbing me about his son, but I also kept pushing her away because she was disturbing me as I watched my football match. Oh no. What do I tell Agnes? That's her only son. A son she had after spending 9 months in the hospital." He bowed his head and began to feel he was sinking. He passed out.